going to do the user profile page. So effectively what this is going to be is somebody will have the ability to put a command in chat to display their profile. So as soon as they do that, we're going to want to display the profile on the page during our carousel of various overlays. So we haven't done the carousel yet. That's probably coming in the next couple of days. Hopefully we can get the user profile done today. It does involve capturing some data elements that we don't have. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so we have total games, we have total wins. We don't have an average place. So let's go take a look at what we have in the database. Okay. Okay, so we'll have a total games played, total wins, and we already have this stuff for the overlays themselves, and that's okay. Data duplication here does not matter because we would rather take the time on write to do all of our work so that our reads are incredibly quick. So if we have big, flat objects of data, that's totally fine. It's just going to be super fast, which is what we want. So total games, total wins, average place. For me, it's going to be 99. Again, probably 0 for me here. Okay, average snipers. I need to get with Daddio. I don't exactly know Twitch 99 nomenclature. So what was that? Average snipers in game. Okay. All-time rank, last 30 days. So this is going to be okay as long as we have last 30-day data. That's okay. So we should probably just duplicate each of these for last 30 days. All right. I like it. So let's make a data object for a user profile in the back end. So this is going to be a user profile object. And again, we want each of these things. Okay. Average place, average snipers in game. I'm gonna say there's got to be an easier way. And because this is JavaScript, we can be lazy about our typing. We'll enforce our typing with good, clean coding, which means, of course, it's going to be incredibly susceptible to getting wonky, but that's okay. And we're going to make a constructor. This is just what it's going to be when we first create this object, before it's populated with data. And we'll also make a set function. I like to do this so that we can easily just throw the JSON that we receive from the database into here. What's up, man? And last stream, this bit me, so I'm going to go ahead and return this here. We're going to have some cameos from the kids tonight. They are escaping the dungeon. Don't worry, it's not for lack of trying. Clinton, you always show up and I love it. And it doesn't go unnoticed. So now we have a user profile object in the back end, and we have a place in the database to store all of our profiles. So we should probably make a profile service. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the message center service because it's going to be very similar. We'll definitely need these profiles. Okay, so we're going to have a list of profiles. And now that I think about it, we actually won't need a list because we're only going to ever show one at a time. At least ideally. So whenever we want to show a profile, we're going to have to pass into this service the name of the user to show. Okay. Don't really need a host. We do need a username, however. We don't need any of these objects, which is good. Or variables, I should say. And what we will need is a place to store what our current username is, because we're going to want to be able to change this dynamically via a function call. So if we have a, that's exactly what we're going to need. We are going to need the host. Okay. So we're going to listen to the host, and we're going to get profile data. And this is effectively going to do a one-time call out to our database to get the profile. So here in the user stat profiles, what we're going to effectively need is a hosts like we do in other places. And then we'll have Daddio, who is of course the best host. And this will display the current value. It should actually probably be a queue of profiles to display. So in this case, we're going to have the profile name, and underneath that we will have a let's see, what should it be? Added on or date. We'll have a date, and that's going to be set to the current timestamp. So I like this Epic Converter website for grabbing a timestamp. Super easy. At 3 zeros per millisecond. So now we have a hosts queue, and you can see that I have requested my profile be shown at this date. So what we're going to be able to do here in the back end is we're going to be able to pull the most recent one ordered by that timestamp and just grab it. And as soon as we grab it, we will put it in a queue to be removed a certain amount of time afterwards. So that's perfect. So let's see here. We're going to want to listen to that host database. So we are going to need to add the profile database here, so we can actually access it. I believe that's correct. Profiles, perfect. So now instead of message center, we want our profiles. And our reference for this host listener is going to be hosts. And our child is going to be this.host. Okay. And we're going to limit it to the last one. We only ever want to pull the most recent one. And instead of ordering by child host, we actually want to order by child date, because that's what we're going to order by. And we need to have hosts slash this.host. There we go. So now that's going to get a reference to, in this case, Daddio's profile page. And it's going to order it by the date that they were added, and we're going to get just the last one. And we actually probably want to limit to first one, because that's going to grab the most recent one. So as soon as we grab that profile off and start displaying it, we're going to want to start a timer to then remove it after 10 seconds. So we can either do that by starting a timer here, or we can call a function to simply remove it out of the database. I haven't decided which I like better yet. And looky here, we actually have already built this ref out. And we should lowercase this. Thanks past me. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. There we go. Grab our epic time. And this is just test data. This will get replaced with real data once we write our function to actually put a profile in here, which will be a lot of fun. I don't think I've done a function like that on stream yet. All right. So when we get one of these values, it's going to update profile. And it's going to put it's just really going to make this child.val into the username, except it will be child.key. So we're going to say this.username equals snapshot.key. That may or may not work. We'll see. So getting our profile data is going to be very similar. And for this host, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that in case someone changes the host name. No big deal. So we want our listener here to listen to the profile.ref of that username in this case. And we don't want to limit it by anything. We want to grab the entire profile data. And when we get a value, I can just copy this. We're going to want to set this.profile and a snapshot is just any. That's sad. To the value of the snapshot. Profile dot set with that value. Beautiful. So now we're going to listen to our host, and as soon as we get a profile, we're going to call the profile data for that username. Perfect. Okay. And we will have a form change on this. probably won't have a checkbox change. When we have a form change, we are going to want to start listening to the host. That way we don't need to do a specific button to do it with. So we have what I believe is going to be our backend service now. And this is going to handle doing all of our listening. I already see a problem. I'm going to need two different listeners. So I'm going to need the regular listener, and then I'm going to need the profile listener. And down here, this is going to need to be the profile listener. And we need the same thing here, just in case we have a listener already. We want to terminate it first, or else it will keep all of those listeners listening in the background, using up sockets and a non-trivial amount of RAM. So that looks good. So now I think I want to switch gears and go ahead and write the function that's going to write into that service. So right here, we're just going to have another Twitch function. I have them all kind of right here in the same place, and that's just for me. So much like I'm just going to use the log game functionality, or let's use the delete game functionality. We're going to copy that and we're going to modify it. So we want to show display profile. That's going to be our function name. So in order to display a profile, the only thing that we really need to receive is the player. So if there is no player, we're going to return back a HTTP code 400, which means it's an invalid response, or an invalid request. You didn't give us enough data to do our job. So we want to make sure that they have a player. We do also need the host. So good deal. So we need a host and a player. We want to know which host this is going to be displayed to and which player is going to be displayed. So instead of getting our score queue, we're going to need to modify this up here to get our profile, just like we did last time. Okay, so now we have a reference to our profile database. So we can say db.profiles, and we want to reference the host. So all we're going to be doing in this case is dropping the username into the host database. So we want to reference hosts / the query.host, which is the host name, .to lowercase. That way we can avoid any sort of casing issues. Okay, so we want the player name. All right. So this is actually pulling, and this is not what I need to do. What I need to do is push the data into that. So I need to say hostdb dot push, and I actually want to do a set here. So I need to get a reference to the host name, and then I also need to get the child of that. That's the player name. Beautiful. And now we're going to set that equal to date with a new server timestamp. So the way we do that is admin.database.server timestamp. It's actually not that. .server value .timestamp. There we go. They make you think that there's a shortcut method for that, but there's not. So that's going to set the child that is the query player name equal to this date.server timestamp, which is exactly what we have set up over here. Player and then date with a timestamp, which is perfect for what we need. And that really should be it. Easy peasy. And then we can just send back players. Profile queued. Make it short and sweet. We may even end up removing this success text. It tends to clog chat up a little bit, but we'll wait and see what Daddio thinks when we get this done. Okay, so we have our query. If there's not a host or a player, we return it. Otherwise, we look up in the profile database this host for this player and we set that equal to this. So I think we should probably, no, I don't think we need to store these to lowercase. I don't think there's any reason, because this is all going to be done programmatically, so the case should always match. Okay, good deal. So let's deploy this function. So right here, Firebase deploy, and I only want to deploy the Twitch functions because that's all I changed. So this will deploy in the background. So we now have a way to add these. We have a way to pull it in the back end and listen to it. So let's go walk through this and make sure that it makes sense. So we want to listen to the host. If you don't have a host set, it's just going to return out. If there's already a listener, it's going to turn that listener off. It's going to get a reference to host / the lowercase host name, and then it's going to start listening to that in the profile database, and it's going to grab the first child that has the most recent or latest date, I should say. And we'll actually see which this is doing. This may need to be limit to last, but we'll see. So whenever it receives a value, it's going to call that snapshot. It's going to log out updating your profile data, and it's going to set that username equal to whatever username gets pulled out of there, and then get their profile data. As of right now, we don't have any way to delete that username. We should... Now, we don't have any way to delete that username currently. We could easily just make the application, just allow the application to do it. But what we can do is we can set up a... we can set up an ability to where hosts can only edit their database or their section of that database, which might be pretty neat. I've never done that before, so we could definitely play with that. So then we're going to call the get profile data, which is going to do the same thing, check and turn off a listener if we already have it, and then grab their profile database out and create a new user profile based on that. So yeah, there's no reason this shouldn't work. So let's log out our snapshot or our profile. I want to go ahead and see what that looks like. Now we can go ahead and turn this on. All right. Good deal. And we have our message center from yesterday, which was working great. So let's go back and create an actual page that will display. So we should be able to use our message center overlay for that. Let's just copy and paste it. Rename this to user profile. And everywhere that we have message center service, we're going to go ahead and turn that into user profile service. Perfect. Okay, so over here, we're going to just simply want to display the profile data. So what I want to do is say user profile service.profile. Service profile dot, what do we have? What kind of cool stuff do we have? We have total games played, right? Yeah, total games played. Cool. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to display this inside of a p tag. And this is just to check and see if our listener is working. All right. So the only thing that we're going to need here in the options is the host, at least for now. So I'm just going to remove everything else. And I don't need a button to listen because I'm doing it on change. So I don't need the required tag. So profile service.host. And on change, it's going to handle the form change for host. Perfect. So that should work. So let's go take a look. I haven't added it yet. So there's two things I need to do to add this page. I need to first In main.js, make a new entry for it here. And we need to tell it where to find user profile at. Perfect. Now we need to add the entry to our nav service so that we can actually navigate to that page. Okay. There we go. So now it should work exactly like the messaging service does. Ah. Here we go. A word. So we can take a look at our user profile. It doesn't do anything currently. We need to have it look for a... Okay, username is not defined. Probably forgot a this. Here we go. Here we go. So we change this. All right, set is not a constructor. That's fine. So we need parentheses here. I'm sure one of you guys saw that. Okay, cannot set average place. Profile is null. So it attempted to use snapshot.val, which was null. So let's log out our snapshot and our snapshot.val so we can see exactly what's getting returned. Because this should have, I should have something here in my username, DevTechTV. And then if I go here to profile, I should have DevTechTV, and I do. So it should definitely shouldn't be null. But stranger things have happened. Oh, I see. So let's take a look. So we are receiving an object. Interesting. So let's see what this .username is. Ah, setting the username equal to DaddioTV. That's obviously bad. So the key is DaddioTV up here. Let's see what the value is. Why, hello.
He went poo-poo on the potty.
Really?
100% on the potty.
Wow, that's amazing.
He did a great job.
That's amazing. Potty success. Okay, so. Let's see, changing page, okay. Okay, awesome. So we can see that it has found my name in there. Okay, so how do I go about accessing you? Interesting. All right. I think we need to loop through this. Much like we're doing up here in the message center. Okay. Much better. So now we did need to get the child out of that, and then we can use the child's key to set as the username. So perfect. So now I should have my user profile data. Ah, you can see the 0 up there. Perfect. So I have my user profile data. Now all I need to do is display the username up here and display the profile in a meaningful way. All right, so let's go take a look. So I'm using a p tag right now. I can use the spiffy semantic header. And I can put the user profile service.username right here. So I can have a nice header with the user's username. Beautiful. And then I can have each one of the stats inside of a list. So let's go take a look at semantic UI lists and see what I may want to use. Little icons next to it would look so cool. Yeah, I kind of love this. Okay, I think there's also one called a feed that looks pretty neat too. It's very similar to a list. Okay, so as of right now, I'm going to use p tags. Quick and dirty. I think I have 5. Stop that. Let's use profile service.profile. And I don't exactly understand why it's not showing me the various elements of their profile. Autocomplete must be broken. That's all right. I'm gonna want to do something to make this display properly too. I know this is not the order the Daddio wants. We'll fix that too. Be significantly less interesting if I didn't type fast. I know why y'all are here. Okay. So this should work. It looks Alright, cool. So we probably only want to display any of this if there is actually a profile. Or actually a username, I should say. So we can do one of these nifty open-close React things. Stick all of this inside of here. And we can say user profile service dot username and all of those. So now it shouldn't display that unless there is actually a username. Boom, beautiful. And all of that data should be accurate. Again, I'm probably going to want to turn it into a table so that it displays better, but that's okay. So we definitely need this to. We now need it to set a timer and actually erase the player. Best way to do that is probably just to use a timer in React and allow them access to it. I think that's going to be the best way. We should take a look at our rules for the database to allow that to happen. So as of right now, we're not allowing any write anywhere. So what we can do is change this. Let's see. So for each user inside of this, we actually have a user profile. We're not requiring that for overlays, though. That's the only thing. We will require that they're authenticated. That's interesting, actually. Because we're going to require that. So if two people are listening to the same queue, then they will be deleting multiple users. It's a very interesting security problem. So we need the ability to know that somebody is who they say they are, which means this particular functionality should probably be locked down to people who have their usernames declared on the site. So what we can do is, instead of allowing them to put in the host name, we can grab their Tetris user ID out of the currently logged in users and use that. I like that even better. So that's what we're going to do. So I believe I store that data here. Let's see where that is. Okay. User service.form user. So I need that in the currently logged in user for sure. And I do the same thing for their roles. So let's take a look at how I'm handling that. Okay. So I can just add this to the auth user object. It may even be there already. Oh, just email and roles. That's okay. Should probably be Twitch user ID, but that's fine. Okay, empty constructor. And where do we create the auth user? Okay. And where are we doing this at? In main. Okay, wonderful. So this is actually great. So here, when we do the update user, we can say this.user. Tetris user ID equals... here we go. I need to copy this guy. Beautiful. So now wherever we set roles, we also want to set the Tetris user ID. Probably be more efficient to add this into the same function and make it more clear what it does. So we can clean that up at some point. So now we should have the auth user's Tetris user ID that we can use here. So instead of having a host, we don't really care about that. So we actually want to grab the auth service. Okay, and instead of doing this, so if the currently logged in user doesn't have a Tetris user ID, we're just going to exit out. And it's just called user, right? Yeah, okay. And instead of that, we want this guy. I don't need this .auth service, I just need auth service. I don't need a question mark anymore because I've already checked to make sure that it's not null. Again, no this.auth service. And we are going to go ahead and lowercase that. Okay, that host is good. I actually don't need the form change anymore because I'm not going to use the form at all. So I can go here and get rid of this form completely. Awesome. So let's see what kind of errors we're dealing with currently. User profile. Okay, so I don't have a user profile, or I don't have anything, I should say. But if I were logged in as Daddio, I would see something. So let's go out here and add some there we go. Let's go add some data for me. Even though I'll probably never be a host. That's okay. Okay, so there's some data for me. It might have already tried to update. Okay. So now we need to add a profile for Daddio. All right. So now we need to call this as soon as we go to the page. So the way we do that is here in the nav service, we add this little array to the end. And we need to import the user profile service. And we need to call its listen function. All right. So now as soon as we go to the page, it attempts to listen, and wow, that worked on the first try. That never happens. Okay. So now the only thing that we need to do is add the ability to remove this from the queue after, say, 10 seconds, and we should probably make that configurable. So let's do that right now. And we could actually make it configurable by whether or not they're a subscriber. We could do all sorts of fun stuff. But as of right now, let's just make it configurable by time. So I actually got rid of this and I need it back. Okay. Let's see, what do we want to call it? Time to display. And we're going to set that by default at 10 seconds. Okay, so let's go see. Let's go see how to do a timer in React. All right, great. We have this awesome set interval. So as soon as we get the profile data for this person, we're going to start a new timer. Okay. Probably do want to declare the timer up here. Awesome. And we don't want to set the state. What we want to do is call delete current profile queue. And we're just going to hard code that for now. Okay, so we do need to have a way of knowing which one to delete. So we may want to do this with an ID in case somebody wants to add it twice. But what we could do is just use the date that we've retrieved here. So we have the child's key, but we're not doing anything with that date other than using it to pull. We could also retrieve the date and use that for doing the delete. So we could say where the key is that and the date inside of the child data is the date. It may just be simpler to use a UUID though, or an automatically generated ID. So what we're going to do for the deletion is we need another, we need this guy. All right, so that's going to be a reference to the place that we're going to need to delete. Can I remove a child with this, or is this going to try to remove the actual data? Yeah, so we need to do that. We need to find the child. An easy way around this is to not allow somebody to request it twice. That's a much easier way. Let's do that. We're going to not allow anybody to have their name in the profile queue if it's already there. And we'll return that message to chat when we attempt to add it. That's easy enough. Okay, so .child.remove. Easy peasy. So does that return a promise? It does. So we need to await that. And that will make sure that it actually gets removed. So 10 seconds after, it's going to start the timer. Awesome. So let's go see if it works. Okay, so we need to make this an asynchronous function. Quick and dirty way to do that. So let's see if after 10 seconds this gets removed. If it does, crazy. I don't actually think it would cause it to be removed from the screen, but it should remove it from the queue. And there we go. It did. So it did actually remove it from the queue, which is wonderful. There we go. I have no one in my queue anymore, so that did work. So now it's attempting to pull something that doesn't exist, which is fine. So what we need to do is ensure that it's not null before we do that. Okay. Let's see where that's getting thrown. Okay, 45. It's interesting that it would throw an error there. Ah, we're still using this.username. No, that's true. That's what we want. So we don't want to do this if there's not a username. So if there is no username, don't attempt to do that. And then it should keep him happy. It attempted to do an automatic import when I made the typo. Okay, cool. So now because there is no profile data, it's not going to show up. And that's pretty amazing that that worked already. Okay, so we now have the ability for a profile to display. And after 10 seconds for that profile to go away, let's actually use the time.display, or the time to display. So if we add a plus in front of this, what it's going to do is attempt to convert it to a, what's it called? It's going to attempt to convert it to a number. So we want to take that number and multiply it by the number of milliseconds in a second so that we can turn that number into seconds. So now that should be obeyed. And that's only going to get called when this guy goes. And that's only going to happen if there is someone waiting in the queue to show up. Awesome. That works perfectly. Now, when we make our carousel, what we're going to do is when somebody requests their profile to be displayed, it's going to automatically queue up that profile into the next slot in the carousel so that when it rolls by, then that will start the timer. So it'll have a 10-second timer on that carousel page. And then it'll roll away, that user profile will go away, and then the next time a user profile pops up, that will slot into the carousel. Awesome. So, let's see, what do we lack now? We need to get the chat command installed into Twitch. I'll probably do that off stream. We definitely have some formatting to do. Let's see. Let's get our form set up. So the only option we have is time to display. And it's not going to be a drop down. It's just going to be a number entry. So if I go over here to the overlay, I already have some examples of doing number entry right here. So I'm going to do that same thing here. I don't want to label here because I'm using the form.field. Actually, I could just do the label here and not use the form.field. So we can take this input right here and replace 4 lines of code with a single one. Thank you, Semantic UI. Okay, I want to use the user profile service. Yep, time to display. Okay, so that should now show up and be editable. Beautiful. And it's pre-populated with the 10 because that's what's in the backend by default. So that's perfect. So we'll default to showing for 10 seconds. If you really love people, you can set it to like a minute. Okay. That automatically detects. It's writable. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Wow, I expected this to take much longer. All right. Awesome. I'm going to sign off for now. I guess tomorrow we're going to start work on the carousel, which is going to be insane. That's really going to set everything apart. All right. Appreciate y'all for being here. Take care.